Welcome back. In this second video about .NET MAUI, we are going to be continuing where we left off, talking about grids. Before we do this though, there's one hint that I would like to mention about visualizing attributes. When you're working with XAML elements, there are so many attributes that it's hard to keep them straight. All you have to do is you can hit the space bar and you will get a list of all possible attributes, and you can just start typing. So for instance, if I was looking for binding, I could just start typing bin here, and then it very quickly narrows down my choices. So just bear that in mind. Of course, you can always look at the documentation. Highly recommended. Let's take a look at a grid. So a grid needs no introduction. It is a series of rows and columns. When you create a grid element, you have to, first of all, specify the number of rows and the number of columns that you would like, and sort of their proportional sizes. So in this example, we're going to have two rows. The first row is going to be 4 times the height of the second row. It's also going to have 2 columns. The first column is going to be twice as wide as the second. So you can see we've got, this is about 2/3 and 1/3, and this is about, in terms of rows, this is about 4/5, and this is about 1/5. To put something in a particular cell, that is to say a particular row and a particular column, you use the grid.row and the grid.column attributes. And so you can see that this layout is a grid. So this consists of 4 labels in a vertical stack layout. This vertical stack layout is going to be in row 0 and grid.row 0 and grid.column 0. So it's appearing right here. Because of how it's been arranged, it is appearing at the top. You can also center it if you feel so inclined, because with a vertical stack layout, you can provide some options that will allow you to do that. The second vertical stack layout has a background color of orange. That's in row 0 and column 1. The third element that we are putting into the grid is a horizontal stack layout. So it's running horizontally, like the name suggests. It's got a background color of white. It's going to row 1 and column 0, so it's right here. Vertically, we were using vertical options equals center. That is why it is in the center here and not appearing at the top. We're providing, so with a horizontal stack layout, each element appears in the order in which it is listed from left to right. So we've got our label, we've got our entry, and we've got our button. And then finally we have one last in row 1 and grid.row 1 and grid.column 1. Sometimes I'll say row and column rather than grid.row and grid.column, but in any event, this is what you have to write. And this is just displaying one more label, one fish. Now in this cell over here, we see something interesting, and this is an example of how you can get input from the user. So to get input from the user, you have 2 main elements. When I'm talking about input, I mean text input. You can either use an entry if you need just a single line of text, or you can use an edit text if you want to be able to get more extensive text, multiple lines from the user. And what you will do is you will give it an xname value, and therefore you will have a hook and be able to access it from code. So let's take a look at an example. Let's actually go ahead and take a look at this. Let's just play around a little bit here in Visual Studio. So what I'm going to do instead of this is the default that we get. I'm going to get rid of that, and I am going to paste in what we saw previously. Actually, I'm just going to, let's just see what happens here. I'm going to play around. There's nothing wrong with playing, and get rid of this button. And so I'm going to have to close this off with another horizontal stack layout. And then I'm going to clean up the formatting here just a little bit. So as you can see, what we've got is we're going to have a label, we're going to have an entry and button as already mentioned. And we need to write a method called onSubmit. We are in the XAML page, So we're going to have to hop over to the XAML.cs page, and I've got that right here. I'm going to just drag it over here on the right. Okay, and so instead of on counter clicked, we are going to call this submit. We're going to get rid of all of this because that was for our default counting app, and we don't need that anymore, and we don't need count. Then what we will do, because we are going to have an entry called name, we can go ahead and snag it. So we'll just say int age is equal to int.try parse, and we're going to give it age int.text. And actually what we need to do here is we need to do out age. Let me go fix this up. I'm going to do int age, and then this is going to be Boolean success. All right, so what's going to happen here is we're going to try and parse this text into an int, and we're going to store it in out.age. We'll know if we succeeded if success is true. And if success is true, then we can, I don't know, celebrate the fact. We can say something like if success, then display alert. So with the display alert, we have to provide a title and then a message. Congrats. And let's do this here. We're using our $. You are age years old. Now, there is one area, if the person is just like 1 year, we'd want to 1 year old, we'd want to say 1 year rather than years old. Chances are if they're 1 year old, they're probably not going to be using this app. So at least I hope not. And let's see, display alert. We need to have a string to, and this is going to be what appears in the cancel button. So there we have it. And we're getting a little bit of a warning here. Let's see. Variable declaration can be inlined. No, I don't want to do that. I want to leave this just like that. So we're going to go ahead and then run this. Now, I said I can run this on an Android device. You can also run this one, at least I think I can run this on a Mac. So we'll just let this build. I'm going to pause this for a moment so you don't have to watch several minutes. I don't know if it's going to be several minutes. Oh, actually, it's going to be less than that. Let's see. The method was called onSubmit, not submit. So let's go ahead and change that. And I'm going to go ahead and try and run this. As I was saying, I don't think you really need to watch the build take place. This will probably take a minute or so. So I'm simply going to pause this video. Well, okay, that was faster than I was expecting. Never mind. So it is a little bit messed up. I don't really have first of all, I'm using a horizontal layout, so it sort of looks a little weird. So I've got enter your age here. So this is a placeholder text that we are seeing. And so we'll say 100. And the 100 is not appearing. Yeah, we're having all sorts of troubles with visibility here. I'll click on submit, and it says, congrats, you are 100 years old. This would look better if we were running this on a different device. And you know what? Why don't we go ahead and do that? So I have a Pixel 7 running right now. So we're going to go ahead and try and run this on a Pixel 7. This is going to, of course, take some time in order to build. So once again, I am probably going to pause this so you don't have to watch this little wheel down here turning and turning and turning. All right, so we're back and it is starting to deploy to the device. And in a moment or two, we should see this switch over. There we go. And this looks a little better. It's still pretty awful. This doesn't work well without some spacing and all sorts of stuff, but at least it's getting closer to. All right. And by the way, surreptitiously introduced another very useful method, display alert. Takes 3 strings as arguments. The first is what appears here at the top as your sort of your message, your title, and then you've got the main content of the alert, and then the text for the button. There are several overrides of this, and you can investigate them at your leisure. Again, this is not supposed to be a comprehensive introduction, just sort of a warm-up. All right, let's get back to our slideshow here. So that was an input example. Let's talk about output. And we've already seen how to use output to display text in a label. Let's talk about how to display text when you have a series of items, because this is something you're going to be doing a lot. And so I want to actually, let me go back. You know what? Let me just go back for just a moment, and let me reiterate how we can put something into a text field. So let's assume that we've got a text field somewhere, and we want to put, or we've got a label somewhere, and we want to put text into it. So I'm going to change this to actually to be a vertical stack layout, because the horizontal one, let's face it, looks really bad. And frankly, the vertical one didn't get any better here. Let's see, not quite sure. I don't need, well, for one thing, I don't need the grid anymore. I certainly don't need that. And let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. And so it should rebuild. And so we should have there we go. So we've got our vertical stack layout there with the age. And I could probably, the vertical options are centering it. And I think I can also do center here. Let's see if this works. No, it doesn't. For reasons that we'll explain at some point, but not just now. In any event, I'm going to add one more label here. And right now, I'm just going to leave it totally blank, so you won't even see it, of course. And I'm going to give a name to it. And let's just say age in dog years label. So what we'll do in our code then is we'll just go ahead and then say age in dog years label dot text is age times 7. Shouldn't hard code, but we're going to do this in this case. And I need to actually write this as a string. Now, we had mentioned the fact that in C# everything is an object. So I can just use the string representation. And now I'm going to have to rerun this. And if I put an age of 100, then we see 700 appearing here. So again, this is how you put something, how you provide output into a label. All right, this next section is going to involve a collection view, and this video we've been recording for a bit here, so I think I'm going to just take a break here. This is a good stopping point, and in the next video, we're going to be talking about collection views.